Hey. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Office Hours with Lanora. Forgive the delay. Somebody should have told me that Facebook made some changes that clearly I wasn't aware of. But I am here. I have a lot of information that I would like to share with you, so I will be quick about it. Thank you again for joining me on this episode of Office Hours with Lanora. Office Hours with Lanora serves 3 points. The first one is to help anyone interested in learning about options to becoming licensed in real estate get those questions answered with me. The second option is for those that have already started a pre-licensing course. I want to help you pass that course on a first attempt. And then finally, for those of us that have earned the license and actively working as a real estate professional, my goal is to help you stay in the business. On this episode of Office Hours with Lanora, we're going to talk about the 10, it's really 11. So the 11 areas that you absolutely need to know related to the national portion of the broker licensing exam. So let's cover those areas, and I'll start with area number 1. Area number 1 that you must know in relation to the national portion of the broker exam will center around property ownership. There will be 8 questions from this area, and you can expect questions related to the types of ownership, tenants in common, joint tenancy, those things, or the rights of survivorship. You'll cover those in this particular area. You'll have questions about life estates. Is there a remainder life estate, or learning the differences between the different types of life estates? We'll talk more about real versus personal property. And of those 8 questions, I'm almost sure you're going to get some questions related to what is real, what is a fixture, what is a personal property, so on and so forth. The second area you need to know about will be land use controls and regulations. You can expect 5 questions from this area, and it will center around subjects such as property taxes and special assessments. We're going to talk more about eminent domain and condemnation. Eminent domain and condemnation. Say that 5 times. So those are areas. Now, the list that I'm pulling from today, it is not inclusive of everything that's on the test. The areas you should know about, but I'm just pulling some of the potential areas where questions will come from the outline. And if you need a copy of the outline, you know what to do. Contact me. I'll get it over to you. Okay, area number 3. Area number 3 will center around valuation and market analysis. 7 questions will come from this area. We're going to talk about the appraisal process. We'll talk about the different types of approaches. So think about the sales approach or the market comparison approach, the cost approach, the income analysis approach in relation to the different types of appraisals that you can do. In area number 4, we'll talk about financing. And there's 10 questions coming from the finance area. Anytime we're doing double digits, I've got a trick for you. I want you to remember those areas where you're doing 10 or more questions, because you can easily earn from the areas that I'll tell you today 63 points if you get everything correct in those 10 areas. You only need a 75% to pass the test. So if you can get all of the double digit areas correct, you're good. In the financing area, where there's 10 questions coming from that area, we're going to talk about points, loan to value, the pity, the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, as well as using your T-bar to be able to put costs and different things in an area to figure out what the missing component is for your test. We'll talk about the types of loans, whether it's going to be FHA, conventional, if it's a bridge loan, if it's going to be owner financing. You'll cover those areas under the financing section. There's other questions that might definitely be on the test, which would relate to truth in lending, the RESPA area of the exam. So 10 questions alone from that area. Here's another big one, and this is section number 5. It's going to be the general principles of agency. You can expect 13 questions from this section. And of those 13 questions, they're going to pull from areas such as what is agency? What's the difference between agency and non-agency relationships? They'll talk more about the key elements of a listing contract and the key elements of a buyer brokerage or a tenant representation contract. This is one of the biggest areas of the test. You fumbling on this section, you're probably not going to successfully pass the test. Let's talk about area number 6, which would be property disclosures. Expect 6 questions from this area on your national exam. It will focus and center around questions related to environmental issues requiring disclosures. Think of lead, think of mold, that sort of thing. Flooding, those flood zones if you're in a flood area. Another one would be from this area, government disclosure requirements related to lead. So you're going to talk about all of those property disclosures that you may need to have as a part of a listing agreement or when you're representing a buyer or a tenant. Area number 7 speaks to contracts. This is the largest area on the test. Not sure if I said that before, but it's 17 questions coming from this one area in contracts. The areas that it will cover or where the questions you can see them come from will be are centered around requirements for validity, what void, voidable, those areas of a contract, a voided contract. You need to know the difference. We're going to talk more in the areas of contract. What is a bilateral contract? What is a unilateral contract? You'll need to know the difference between those. There's also going to be questions related to offers and purchase agreements. What are the general requirements? What are some of the contingencies? What is time is of the essence? I remember taking a real estate exam, and that was my very first question. What does the statement time is of the essence mean? Move, hurry up, get it done, don't waste time, all of the above. All right, so section number 8, we're looking at leasing and property management. You can expect 3 questions to come from this area on the national exam. It'll cover questions related to basic concepts and duties of a property management company or manager. It'll talk about the landlord-tenant rights and obligations. We're going to start touching upon the American with Disability Act or ADA compliance and fair housing compliance related to property management, okay? In area number, 9, we'll look at the transfer of title. There are 8 questions coming from this area. So now we're looking at some areas related to, some questions related to title insurance. Think of a cloudy title. What does that mean? We're going to look at marketable versus insurable title. What is deemed uninsurable? Is it a cloud on the title? Is there a mechanic lien? That sort of thing. We'll talk more about, and you'll have questions related to deeds and warranties to ensure that there are certain things that go along or you can be guaranteed or sure of. In this area, we're going to have questions on your exam related to foreclosures and short sales. What's the difference? What does that mean? So you can expect 8 questions from the transfer of title area. In section number 10, we'll look at the practice of real estate, another double-digit area, 13 questions from this area. It's huge, a lot of memorization work. You can expect questions on the national test centered around antitrust laws, what you can and can't do. You can expect questions about what's an employee versus what's an independent contractor. You have to know the difference. Here's an answer. In real estate, a licensee is deemed an independent contractor, which means no taxes can be taken out of your check. You independently can come and go as you please. You don't have an employee-employer relationship. So you need to know the difference. Another area related to the practice of real estate in those 13 questions could include trust and escrow accounts, okay? The final area number 11, because there are 11 sections to the national exam, and you can expect 100 questions from that national portion of the exam. You need to earn a 75% or better on that portion of the exam to successfully pass. So section number 11 relates to, math, real estate calculations. So we have 10 questions coming from that section. The questions can focus around loan to value ratios, T-bar again, remember that. You're going to get questions maybe around discount points. You'll get questions about commissions and commission splits and how to calculate those, as well as you're going to get some questions about property tax calculations. Now, I always hear students or prospective students call me and say, "Oh, Lenora, I'm just not good at math. I'm going to fail that whole test because of math." It's 10 questions, 10 questions related to math. You still have 90 questions to do a slam dunk on. So don't get caught up on the 10 questions. Let me quickly give you all the 5 areas of the exam that you need to really be knowledgeable about, because you can get 63 points alone by mastering these areas and getting every question right. It's going to be the financing area, which is 10 questions. The general principles of agency, which is 13 questions. Contracts, which is 17 questions. Practice of real estate, 13 questions. And the real estate calculations, 10 questions. From just those 5 areas alone, if you get every single question right, you automatically have 63 points. You need 75 to pass this exam. So you can be great in those 5 areas, and then in the other 6 areas, make sure you learn everything, but you can boost up your score. You'll never know if you pass. You'll never know what the score is if you pass, because you don't need to know, you pass. But if you didn't do successfully in any of those areas and you were less than 75%, you'll get a score and you have to go back and take this test over again. Remember, there is an outline that I have access to. If you need it, definitely email me, schedule a time with me to chat about it, or you can call me directly so that I can get that outline to you, to be able to learn what all the content sections for both the national and the state. We're going to go over the state sections. There's 3 on the very next live. I believe that's going to be in 2 weeks, and I'll cover those areas that you can expect questions from. You'll also find up above in the blurb upcoming classes, Saturday sessions for the broker, pre-licensing class, pre-licensing course will start this Saturday, July 9th. It's meeting via Zoom webinar. We still have seats available. On Monday, we're going to be starting the in-person broker sessions, and they're the 2-week accelerated format, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30. And then at the tail end of the month on July 25th and 26th, we'll have the residential leasing agent course in person at our downtown school location. So I look forward to seeing you all on the very next live with the Office Hours with Lenora series. Thank you for joining me. You know what to do if you have questions. Until then, ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.